Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'd like to do a part 2 to my top 10 Wings of Fire Winglet ideas, except this one has 5 ideas since they're more in depth. Part 1 is pretty old and I didn't go into detail with what I'd expect from each winglet, so I decided to do another part. Some of these winglets would honestly bring so much more depth to the story and flesh out some characters we haven't seen too much of. The only book that would really be spoiled here is Moon Rising, so if you haven't seen that one then please click off. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. One winglet that I would absolutely love to see would be Icicle's letters to Winter while awaiting her trial. Icicle isn't really that fleshed out as a character, and seeing more of her would really show her side of the story, rather than just Sora's. I feel like this winglet would be centered around her telling Winter updates about the trial. You'd end up telling her that she needed to have a conversation with Sora. Somehow Winter would be able to get a hold of Sora, despite her being on the run, and would have the two enemies talk it out through letters. At first they would behave hostile towards one another, but by the end of the winglet, it would turn into a friendship, or at least some kind of a tolerance. Icicle would describe how she didn't kill Crane as a direct jab at Sora, and Sora would apologize for taking things into her own claws. This could turn into a very wholesome winglet and make this storyline a lot more interesting. Someone said this to me a while back, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. There should be a winglet on the Talons of Peace during the war. Just think about it. We've barely seen them, and they're supposedly a big enough organization to be able to work with the Nightwings during the war for sending secession. This winglet could center around a few seemingly forgotten Talons of Peace members and their roles during the war. It would bring new characters for us to think about, and there could be a PoE switch every few chapters. The first couple could be centered around one of the heads of the Talons of Peace going on a stealth mission, and the next few could be about another trying to take care of her dragoness during the war, for example. The war for sending secession is a big deal in Pyra, so seeing more about the dragons directly in the heat of battle would prove to be very intriguing. It could also bring new stakes to the war, even though it's over. Chameleon is one of my favorite Wings of Fire characters, so a winglet surrounding his exile from the rainforest would be perfect. I bet all of us have speculated at one time or another the details related to this event, and I feel as though Tui should make a winglet on it. It would give him some more personality, because some people do complain that he's just a treasure-hungry filler villain. I personally don't find him that way until after escaping peril, but that's a discussion for another day. This winglet could show how harsh the Rainwings can be when met with someone who's different from them, even if it is one of their tribe mates. I did a poll a while back on what winglets you guys would like to see, and one about Thorn and Stonemover's love story seemed to be the most popular. I'd honestly love to see a winglet about this, because we only got a brief summary of how they met and fell in love during the brightest night. Thorn is one of my favorite queens in the series, so seeing some exposition on how she interacted with Stonemover would be awesome. It would especially be interesting to see from both points of view how Stonemover's disappearance really went, rather than just seeing it being talked about for a little bit and then brushed off. The heartbreak could be shown super well, and their moments together could be some of the most intimate in the series. And finally, the one fans have been demanding ever since Moon Rising, Sora and Umber on the run. Tui really needs to dive deep into this story, because you can't just have two runaways take off and never be heard from again. Some have speculated that they may appear in Book 15, but I honestly doubt it. How would they get to Pantala? But seeing the two of them bond on the run would be a unique experience, unlike anything we've actually seen in the book so far. They could get into trouble on the way, and it would show the difficulty they face while trying to remain hidden. Maybe the winglet could end up with someone finding them and telling them they should send a letter to a certain locked-up dragonette, leading to the start of the first winglet I mentioned. But honestly, this has potential to be a thrilling and heartfelt addition to the canon story. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. Which of these would you guys want to see? And are there any more you're brainstorming? Let me know down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!